Hey everyone. We just shot our podcast with our latest one with Bob Galinski. I just want to apologize for some audio issues going into it. So for everyone listening, be aware that there's some audio glitches. Do the best we can with editing it, but Bob's connection, internet connection, wasn't quite up to speed. Still got all the good content in, great conversation. Just be aware of the audio. And enjoy the talk, and we'll talk to you soon. On today's ISSA Health Podcast, we have Bob Galinski. Bob is the owner of Garage Gym in Oneida, New York, a personal training and group fitness studio that is in its 8th year of business. Bob is an ISSA certified fitness and nutrition specialist and USAW coach. He was a WNBF Natural Pro Bodybuilder from 2015 to 2017. Bob has completed all 46 Adirondack high peaks, making him an Adirondack 46er. He has run 3 50K distances, 2 of which were official races, and placed first in a recent 50-mile race. He is running the Dead Horse Ultra, a 50-miler in 2 weeks in Moab, Utah. Bob, we want to welcome you to the ISSA Health Podcast.
Is joint pain or stiffness affecting your quality of life? I personally suffered from knee and lower back pain from my training and hobbies. Since I started taking a scoop of NativePath's collagen every day, I noticed a significant improvement in my joint health. I am able to do more things I enjoy with those I love and care about. I personally recommend everyone try NativePath's collagen for joint recovery and for a variety of other health benefits. NativePath has generously offered all of our listeners 15% off by simply entering the code AISSA15 at checkout. That's code AISSA15 for 15% off your entire purchase. All of NativePath's products are high purity, organic, grass-fed, and clean. So check out all of the great products they have available at their website, nativepath.com.
Hey Bob, welcome to the ISSA Health Podcast. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about you, Josh?
Doing good. We got Andy and Bob on today's show, and Bob's got a really awesome background. I want all of our listeners to understand. He comes from a background. He played college football. He was pro bodybuilder. He's done a lot of CrossFit. He's done jiu-jitsu, and now he is an endurance runner.
And, oh yeah,
quite
an ultra endurance runner.
Ultra endurance runner, yes. So something I want to start off with, Bob, is what started you into the whole running journey? Like you're not just running 5Ks here. So you flipped your training totally 180 degrees to focus on running, and not only short distances, but quite elite distances. So what was the switch and what led you to that?
Yeah, and I'll also add to that, Bob. When did you make that switch? Because I want to say, I think it was about maybe 2 years ago, possibly 3. I don't remember when it was when you shifted from the strength and bodybuilding to getting into running, but when was that?
It was about 2 years ago. So, I mean, actually to go back a little further, really back into high school, I used to play a lot of baseball and I didn't make the team. And I basically got kind of lazy, and my dad came up to me one day and was just like, Bob, you need to get into some other type of sport. You need to do something other than playing video games. And so he talked me into running the Boilermaker with him, and I did cross country for a year. And then I ran the Boilermaker for 15 years. I was a pretty avid runner back then, but I never ran over 10 miles. And then when I got into bodybuilding, I kind of let go of running because I was burning too many calories and I couldn't build enough muscle. So I just cut it out in order to maximize the muscle gain. How I got back into it was a couple of years ago. Kind of got sick of bodybuilding. I was bored there. Had done some CrossFit and was getting actually ready for Murph one year and ran a mile, and it took me 20 minutes to recover. I was out of breath. I didn't want to start my workout. I was just like, I almost had frantic cough. Like I was just like, what? I have not been training this. So I decided from there on out I was going to start running at least 3 miles once a week. So I started doing that, and then got talked into doing the White Face Sky Race back in 2019. and I had a blast doing it. It was mostly hiking. I actually ended up placing 13th out of 50 competitors for a 5-mile run, and decided that it was really fun and I kind of wanted more. Like 6 months later, joined into a Rochester race called the Winter Trail Festival. And same idea, it was a 10-mile run. So it was the farthest I'd ever ran in competition. And I placed third out of probably the same thing, like another 30 or 40 people. I was like, maybe I'm a better runner than I give myself credit, and maybe I should start training a little bit more. And then a buddy of mine at the gym wanted to run the Saranac 6 Ultra with me. And I was like, that's like 30 plus miles in a day. And he never ran. So I was like, well, if he thinks he can do it, I might as well agree. And I could run and get prepped for it. Should be fine. Then my ex-girlfriend talked me into signing up for the Wakely Dam. And this was the early 2020s. So I was kind of nervous. I was like, I've never ran over 10 miles. I didn't have a program. I didn't know really what I was doing other than what I used to do, which was training kind of stupid. I just back when I was running the Boilermakers, I used to just run balls to the wall every run. Never had any plan or didn't pay attention to heart rate very much. Just kind of went out and killed myself, which I think is pretty common for a lot of people when they first start. So I finally decided to look up a program online for getting ready for a 50-miler, and I just modified the programming for myself for a 30, and I just started training. And after basically there's a base volume you do for about 10, 12 weeks, and I went through that, and after the 10, 12 weeks, I started feeling really good. I was getting much more efficient, and then after that, you start increasing mileage. In this specific program I was doing, you increase mileage every 2 weeks. And I just did that all the way up into June of 2020, and finally hit a point where a buddy of mine wanted to join me for a run. He wanted to go for a 50K, and I decided to join him and got my first distance out of the way. Of course, it wasn't a race because everything was canceled last year, but it was one of the most empowering things that I'd ever done to realize I could run that far. And it just kind of got me hooked.
Yeah. And then Bob, that 50K led you into wanting to run a 50-miler, right?
Yeah, in time, it wasn't one of my original goals. And actually, kind of going back to your original question, one of the other things that motivated me was I follow some people through socials and YouTube that do some crazy adventures in the mountains, and because I love to hike and I love these mountain adventures. After working on the 46 peaks for so long, I started seeing people do like triathlons in the backcountry and all these other cool events. I started saying, I want to be able to have the ability to do that. That was also what kind of sparked some of my motivation for 50K mileage. But yeah, once I was successful at the 50K mileage, then it came through my head like, well, I want to run an original race, but then maybe I'll start thinking about that 50-mile distance. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's quite a progression, and that's a fast progression. You're talking 2 years. You went from running a mile that was really painful to running a 50-miler and taking first place. That was in September, right?
Yeah, it was September 25th, I think.
Okay.
At the Morgan Hill Meat Grinder in Syracuse, or Fabius, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. Did you during that race, the 50-miler, did you ever consider quitting?
No, not at all.
No.
At that point, my base volume was so good, or my aerobic training was so good, and it was probably the smartest race that I've run to date so far. I just stayed with two other runners that I had competed with before, and I knew that they were similar in pace to me. So they were good friends. I knew they were going to be roughly at a pace I wanted to be at. So actually the three of us just hung out for the first 41 miles together. We were running at like a 9 to 10 mile pace, probably on average. So we were all breathing pretty easy, taking our time, having fun, talking, communicating. And then it wasn't until the last 9 miles, we all kind of went our own way and see who had the ability to win that.
Wow.
When you say you ran a smart race, can you tell the listeners, like, what are some of the tactics involved in trying to make sure that you can finish the distance and do well in it?
So the first one is basically what I kind of already touched on, which is basically just not trying to go balls to the wall right from the get-go. If I had raced out and started trying to go at an 8-minute mile from the get-go, I would have probably bonked hard, and then it would have been hard to come back and have the energy I needed to finish. So going off of that, nutrition, and I've heard this since I started running or training for ultras, is that your nutrition plan for that distance is actually probably one of the hardest things to figure out. The distance, most of us can probably push through, but if you don't have the right nutrition plan and you're not putting calories in and electrolytes in and sodium in, you're going to bonk hard and crash. So the biggest thing there, one of the things that Bethany and Doug were doing, and I was doing the same thing with them, was roughly every 45 minutes or so, we're intaking about 200 to 300 calories. So myself specifically, I was using honey stinger gels, some Gatorade blocks for extra electrolytes, and then I use Tailwind Nutrition, which is basically a liquid electrolyte drink. And so between the three of those, I'm intaking about 250 to 300 calories per hour, per 45 minutes to an hour. And without that, your muscles may cramp or bonk, and then again, hard to come back.
And how long were you out there? What was your finishing time?
My finishing time was 11 hours and 3 minutes.
Okay, so you're talking about 2,500 calories roughly while you're out there on the run, huh?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Probably more than most people eat in a day. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's to me, 2,500 calories though for 11 hours, right, of activity. That seems not, I don't know. That doesn't seem like a lot of calories, or am I wrong? I don't know.
It's not super high.
No.
And actually, some of the aid stations I even took in like half peanut butter and jelly sandwich, some potato chips, M&Ms, pickles. So there's even more in there, probably 3,000 plus. But anything to get some extra sodium, extra carbohydrates.
So this is something I find interesting with the fueling for an ultra. Is, you know, you're mentioning the whatever M&Ms and all these junk foods, like fast digesting stuff that your body can handle and digest easily. But do you eat that same stuff on your training days? Because I know you, and you're not like you're not eating bags of M&Ms all the time, but you're out there training and you're doing high mileage all week long. So are you eating differently on the race day than you are on your training days?
A little bit. So, I mean, I still do ingest some junk food throughout the day to make up those calories. But I mean, as you guys know, I still eat pretty healthy. So I'm still typically eating 3 major meals with high protein, high fiber foods, fruits, vegetables. But then throughout the day, I am making up calories with anything from cookies to Pop-Tarts to, I don't do ice cream very often, but occasionally, what else? Let's see, some potato chips here and there, especially on my longer run days. So long runs are hard workout days because I'm usually burning roughly 800 to 1,200 calories on one of my at least 3 times a week.
Wow. And I want to remind everyone listening that you weigh what, about 185? 190?
Yeah, 185 to 190 depending on the day and what I eat.
Yeah, so we're not talking 150 pounder that runs 50 miles. We're talking someone that has a lot of muscle density.
Yes.
So you're burning even more than, you know, probably your average really skinny runner, you know.
Oh yeah. I have a high metabolism in general, always have. But my basic metabolic rate is probably 28 to 3,000 calories. And now you're talking burning another 1,000 to 3,000 calories depending on my run. So anywhere from like 4,000 to 6,000 calories a day, which I should be intaking. Most days I'm probably not even hitting that top number.
Wow. During that race, Bob, now you said you were averaging like a 9 to 10 minute mile. Is there walking involved there, or is that, so is there a run walk strategy? Because like, I am not a distance runner. I've run a few Boilermakers, but that's it. But I know that you can get fairly effective results. And I think this is really good for a lot of people listening that may be interested in endurance running, is like a run walk strategy. Did you implement that in your training or on race day? Can you tell us about that?
For sure. So even when I started training almost a year and a half ago, because I used to be a road runner, and it's kind of big in road running that you don't walk, that when I first started last year, even I was kind of in that mentality of no walking, just got to keep moving, even if it's slow. And as I started paying more attention to my training, paying attention more to my heart rate, I started realizing I was still training harder than I should have been. So once I started paying a little bit more attention to my heart rate and realizing that I wasn't in Z1 and Z2 for most of those runs, I actually had to probably, what was it, May of last year, I think it was. I actually had to go and start walking just to keep my heart rate low enough.
Wow.
To stay in like a Z2 heart rate.
Mhm.
And I had to do that for probably at least 2 weeks until my heart rate started to adapt, and then I could start jogging really slow. And I'm talking, for somebody who's been an athlete for years, used to run, and had been running for almost 6 months at that time, I was starting to run at like 11.5-minute pace just to keep my heart rate low enough. It was mentally hard because I was like, I'm an athlete. Why am I having to run this slow? So it was a mental block, mental frustration for me. But after about 2-3 weeks, I started seeing the benefit, and it kind of gave me this whole new belief in running and understanding how important heart rate really is. And now a year and a half later, my Z2 is probably like an 8:30 or 8-minute pace. I can move pretty fast while nasal breathing, not breathing out of my mouth at all.
Wow.
And in a very comfortable
I
place.
wanted to interrupt this amazing podcast with a brief message about one of our sponsors, Lombardi Chiropractic in Oneida, New York. Nearly 65 million Americans report suffering from back pain, and I used to be one of them. I found Dr. Pete 8 years ago due to my continual back discomfort and pain. As an active athlete and someone who likes to play hard, I was frustrated when my sessions in the gym started to regress, my sleep went downhill, and I had no idea why. After a comprehensive evaluation by Dr. Pete's team, I was given a detailed treatment plan that I followed to the T. After 3 months of care, my body felt amazing. As a coach, I understand that if you don't maintain your abilities, you will lose it. And the last thing I wanted to do was lose the great progress I had made. I have used Dr. Pete as my personal chiropractor for the last 8 years and attribute much of my physical abilities and overall health to his approach with chiropractic care. The good news is, Lombardi Chiropractic is offering a 50% discount on the initial exam and x-rays to all new members that mention the ISSA Health Podcast. So stop trying to self-diagnose and save yourself time and money by visiting lombardichiropractic.com and schedule your initial consultation today.